Today we are going to discuss consumer decision making process. Consumers buying decision and consumption process of products or services always takes place in the context of some specific situation. For example, depending on the set of circumstances, customers' behavior may take any number of directions. For example, the type of gift the consumer may purchase for his son's birthday might well be different from the type of gift on the occasion of friend's marriage. The type of clothes bought for jogging will most likely be different from those worn at marriage party. In these and many other decisions, consumers may base their buying action on an assessment of situation. There are five steps in consumer buying decision process: problem recognition, information search, evaluation of alternative and selection, outlet selection and purchase decision, post purchase decision. We'll now discuss all these steps one by one. So, first, problem recognition. Purchase decision making process begins with a buyer becoming aware of an unsatisfied need or a problem. Problem recognition is a critical stage in consumer decision making process because without it there is no deliberate search for information. Rarely is there a day when we do not face multiple problems which individuals resolve by consuming products or services. We commonly face problems such as the need to replenish items of everyday consumption. For example, the consumer who runs out of milk or cooking oil has a clear definition of the problem. Such problems are quickly recognized, defined, and resolved. As another example of routine problem, we can think of an individual who notices that the fuel meter of his uh, vehicle is indicating very low of fuel level and goes to the first petrol pump on his way and gets the tank filled with petrol. Unplanned problems occur when, for example, the refrigerator or other major appliance breaks down. Recognition of a problem, such as the need for a notebook, computer, may take much longer as it may evolve slowly over time. So, uh, the process of problem recognition combines some highly relevant consumer behavior concepts such as information processing and the motivation process. First of all, consumers must become aware of the problem through information processing arising as a result of internal or external stimuli. This leads to motivating customers. They are aroused and activated to engage in some goal directed activity, that is, purchase decision making. This kind of action in response to recognizing problems and finding solutions to problems depends on the magnitude of the discrepancy between the current state and the desired or ideal state, and secondly, the importance of the problem for the concerned consumer. Without a perception of a problem by the consumer, there is no recognition of an existing problem, and hence there is no actually need to engage in the process of decision making. Since the consumer does not perceive any discrepancy between his current state and the desired state. The current state for the concerned consumer is apparently quite satisfactory and does not need decision making. It is important to appreciate that it is actually the consumer's perception of the actual state that stimulates problem recognition and not some objective reality. Also, the relative importance is a critical concept in several purchase decisions because almost all consumers have budgetary or time constraints. Now, routine problems are those where the difference between actual and the desired state is expected to be felt and would call for immediate solution. For instance, convenience goods of everyday use are associated with the category of problem recognition. Both routine and emergency problems stimulate purchase of goods and services with a minimum time lag between purchase and actual consumption. Emergency problems are possible but are unexpected and necessarily need immediate solutions. For example, say a consumer meets an accident while on his way to office, gets injured, and the vehicle is badly damaged. In such an emergency, he needs a quick solution to reach a hospital's emergency room. Subsequently, he may plan to get the vehicle repaired or buy a new one. That will be his second preference, second choice. Now, solutions that can cause problem recognition include non marketing factors and marketer initiated activities that can trigger the process of a consumer's problem recognition. The five of the most common situations are: the first one is depletion of stock. Consumers use or consume certain types of goods every day on an ongoing basis, such as groceries, toiletries, and other convenience goods. No sooner has an item reached a stage than it's about to run out, the consumer almost reflexively recognizes the problem and must repurchase in order to continue fulfilling her or his need for the item. Second is dissatisfaction with goods in stock. Consumers frequently feel dissatisfied with products they own. For example, a consumer may be having chiffon saris, which are no longer in fashion, and may be discontented and may desire to buy the ones currently in style. The third one, environmental changes. A family's changing characteristics are among the most significant situations and cause recognition of problems. Different life cycle stages stimulate needs for different types of products. Similarly, reference group influences can also cause problem recognition. The fourth one is change in financial situation. Any change in financial status almost always has an important relationship to problem recognition. Salary increase, promotion, bonuses, inheritances, etc., generally triggers spending on non routine purchases. For example, after a promotion, the consumer may recognize that his auto is not reflective of his present status and may buy a more expensive vehicle. On the downside, if a consumer loses his job, then a new set of problems will be recognized, and probably all future household expenditures would be affected. And now the last one is marketer initiated activities. All marketers attempt to make consumer aware about their known and latent problems and convince them that they have the right solution to meet their needs. Advertising and other promotions focus on helping consumers in perceiving a difference of sufficient intensity between their desired state and their actual state. Desired state means ownership of the product, and actual state means not owning the product. Marketers also attempt to influence consumers' perceptions about their existing state. For instance, the need to buy many personal care products. Women desire to use a soap to have fresh and smooth skin, and the ad of Dove soap is designed to generate concern about the existing state of their skin. Dove claims to provide the desired benefits that presumably other soaps do not. Such ads aim to instigate consumers to question if the current state coincides with the desired state. Not all marketers controlled messages succeed in this objective because of the consumer's tendency of selective exposure and selective perception. So, this was the first problem recognition and the situations. Now, we come to the second step, that is information search. After problem or need recognition, consumers generally take steps to gather adequate information to select the appropriate solution. Information search refers to what consumers surveys in his environment for suitable information to make a satisfying purchase decision. Problem recognition is an ongoing process for consumers, and they use internal and external searches to solve these problems. Consumers may also be involved in ongoing search activities to acquire information for possible future use. No sooner does a consumer recognizes a problem than he in a reflexive manner first thinks or tries to remember how he usually solves this kind of problem. The recall may be immediate or occur slowly as a result of conscious effort. This recall from long term memory might produce a satisfactory solution in case of many problems, and no further information search is likely to occur. For example, to get relief from headache, the consumer recalls a brand of headache remedy based on earlier experience and buys the brand. This is termed as nominal decision making. Another possibility is that consumer recalls Disprin and Novalgine but is not sure and picks up a book on home remedies and reads about different solutions, or the consumer perhaps asks a friend or goes to the nearest medicine shop. and seeks advice from the pharmacist as to which remedy would be effective and safe and buys the brand. The decision here would be based on internal and external information. This type of decision approach is called limited decision making. In case of high involvement purchases, the relative importance of external information search tends to increase. In general, it seems the type of information sought by a consumer depends on what he already knows. If the consumer possesses little knowledge about available alternatives, the tendency is to learn about the existence of alternatives, and after acquiring sufficient information, to redirect efforts towards learning more about the attributes of available alternatives to develop suitable evaluating criteria and evaluate them. Purchase decision of this type involving perceived risk, extensive information search, and serious evaluation efforts are called extended decision making. So there are three types of decision making: nominal decision making, limited decision making, and extended decision making. We know all the types of external uh, sources of information, that is, for example, relatives, friends, neighbors, professional information from handouts, pamphlets, articles, magazines, journals, books, internet, and direct experience through trial, inspection, and observation. Marketer initiated efforts include in advertisements, displays, and salespeople. So, besides recalling and learning about the availability of different solutions, an important objective of information collection is to determine appropriate evaluative criteria. These criteria are the standards and specifications that the consumer uses in evaluating products and brands. The consumer establishes what features or attributes are required to meet his needs. For several types of products such as computer, car, cell phones and others, these criteria may vary from consumer to consumer. In most cases, consumers usually undertake brand processing or attribute processing. Brand processing involves evaluating one brand at a time on several attributes, then a second, and so on in the evoked set. Attribute processing involves examining a specific attribute and comparing other brands on that attribute. In this manner, one by one, a second, a third, or fourth attribute may be selected for comparison. The information collection yields an awareness of set of brands or products. Awareness or consideration set is composed of recalled and learned about solutions. Awareness set contains evoked sets, inept set, and inert set. What is evoked set? Evoked set is composed of those brands the consumer will evaluate to choose the solution of a particular problem or need. Inept set includes those brands that the consumer finds unworthy of consideration. And inert set is composed of alternatives that the consumer is aware of but would not consider buying and would treat with indifference. So, this was about problem recognition. The third step is evaluation of alternatives. Consumers' evaluative criteria refers to various dimensions, features, characteristics, and benefits that a consumer desires to solve a certain problem. For example, a consumer's evaluative criteria for a laptop computer may include processor speed, operating system, memory, graphics, sound, display, software included, cost, and warranty, etc. However, for another consumer, the set of evaluative criteria may be entirely different for the same product. Any product feature or characteristics has meaning for a consumer only to the extent that it can provide a desired benefit. Consumers who want to avoid dental cavities would use the toothpaste that contains fluoride in its formulation. For this particular consumer, fluoride content would probably be the most important evaluative criteria. Fluoride feature is important because it provides a desired benefit. Otherwise, it has no value. What is more important for marketer is to stress upon and convince consumers about the benefit that a particular feature would provide rather than mentioning the features only. To evaluate different alternatives in the evoked set, the consumer examines products or brands against the desired set of criteria and also those that are not desired. Consumers use either attitude based choice that involves the use of general attitudes, impressions, beliefs, intuition, and form overall preferences about brands, or attribute based choice that requires the knowledge of specific attribute at the time of choosing a brand by comparing each brand alternative on specific attributes. This attribute based choice process is cumbersome and time consuming. Generally, the importance of an optimal decision is related to the value of the product under consideration and consequence associated with a non optimal decision. The purchase decision of certain products is primarily based on affective choice or what we call feeling based purchases. For example, a young girl goes to a ready to wear clothing store to buy a dress she would wear for the annual college function. She examines several dresses, tries a few, and finally decides that in one particular dress she looks pretty attractive. She looks forward to making a great impression in the function and buys that dress. Such choices do not fit well with either attitude based or attribute based criteria and tend to be more holistic in nature. The brands are not divided into distinct components and each of them is evaluated separately from the whole. The evaluation is simply based on how the product makes the consumer feel while he or she is using the product or service and evaluate the associated feelings that this use will produce. For example, the ads of some products and personal care services such as mattresses, undergarments, massage, sauna bath, and others aim at stimulating consumer to anticipate feeling that the consumption experience will produce and base their choice on these anticipated feelings. Marketers' messages must attempt to furnish information and experience by using suitable spokesperson to help develop a strong attitude based position. Marketers must also provide performance levels and supporting information to help those consumers who tend to develop preference based on attribute based choice. So, this was the evaluation of alternatives. How and in what situation we evaluate. The next step is a purchase decision. Making a purchase is often a simple, routine matter of going to a retail outlet where the consumer looks around and quickly picks out something needed. All consumers like to view themselves as intelligent shoppers and make decisions regarding the retail outlet choice in which they will shop. Generally, consumers decide about the make of the computer first, then chooses the dealer to buy it from. Frequently, it happens that consumers choose the retail outlet first, and this influences their choice of brand. For example, when consumers shop for clothes, they generally decide about a retail outlet first or go to the market area where several such stores exist. Similarly, they often make a brand decision in the retail store when they shop for appliances. Increasingly, consumers are exposed to product introductions and their descriptions in direct mail pieces and catalogs in various print media vehicles, on television, and on the internet, and buy them through mail, telephone, or computer orders. In case of some product categories, internet offers greater selection, convenience, and lower price than other distribution outlets. For at least some consumers, so far, this in-home shopping is not so common in India, but is on the increase. A large number of companies with websites are encouraging consumers to buy products through computer orders. Retail outlet image and location has an obvious impact on store patronage, and consumers' outlet choice often depends on its location. Consumers generally will choose the store that is closest. Similarly, the size of the store is also an important factor that influences consumers' outlet choice. For minor shopping goods or convenience items, consumers are unwilling to travel very far. However, for high involvement purchases, consumers do not mind traveling to distant shopping areas. Retail outlets are also perceived as having varying degree of risk. Consumers perceive the less risk with traditional retail outlets compared to more innovative outlets such as the internet. Once the consumer has chosen a brand and selected a retail outlet, he takes the final step of completing the transaction. Traditionally, this should involve offering the cash to acquire the rights to the product. In developed and many developing countries, credit often plays an important role in completing the purchase transaction. Credit cards are popular in developed economies and are increasingly becoming popular in India and many other developing countries as a convenient way of financing many purchases. Many retail outlets overlook the fact that the purchase action is generally the termination of last contact that the customer will have with the store on that shopping trip. This presents the business an opportunity to create a lasting impression on the customer. Now, post purchase evaluation. Consumers' favorable post purchase evaluation leads to satisfaction. Consumers choose a particular brand or retail outlet because they perceive it as a better overall choice than other alternatives that were evaluated while making the purchase decision. They expect a level of performance from their selected item that can range from quite low to quite high. Expectations and perceived performance are not independent, and consumers tend to perceive performance in line with their expectations. After using the product, service, or retail outlet, the consumer will perceive some level of performance that could be noticeably more than the expected level, noticeably below expectations, or match the expected level of performance. Thus, satisfaction with a purchase is basically a function of the initial performance level expectations and perceived performance relative to those expectations. As one may expect, a positive post purchase evaluation results in satisfaction, and the negative evaluation causes dissatisfaction. In case the consumer's perceived performance level is below expectations and fails to meet the expectations, this will definitely cause dissatisfaction, and the product or the outlet will be most likely pushed in the inept set and dropped from being considered on future occasions. Thus, the consumer is also likely to initiate complaint behavior and spread negative word of mouth. The consumer generally experiences satisfaction when the performance level meets or exceeds the minimum performance expectations. Similarly, when the performance level far exceeds the desired performance level, the consumer will not only be satisfied but also will most likely be delighted. Such an outcome tends to reduce the consumer's decision making efforts on future purchase occasions of the same product or service to accomplish need satisfaction. Thus, rewarding purchase experience encourages consumers to repeat the same behavior in future. A delighted consumer is likely to be committed and enthusiastic about a particular brand and usually unlikely to be influenced by competitors' action. A delighted consumer is also inclined to spread favorable word of mouth. This was the steps involved in consumer buying decision process. Now, since we have studied about these steps, in my next video, I will explain the marketing strategies for each of these steps. We have seen the uh, consumer's behavior or the considerations of the consumer. So, how the marketer would encash this consumer behavior, or how they can influence the consumer for purchasing their product. So, what will be their marketing strategy? I'll explain it in my next video, as it will be a very long video if I include here. So, see you in my next video with the strategies, marketing strategies for consumer buying decision process. Thank you.